This video is a film study look at the devastation that Jahmyr Gibbs visited on the Washington Commanders defense in the 44-22 win in Week 10 for the Lions, pushing their record to 6-3. Gibbs, of course, had 177 total yards of offense. 3 touchdowns, was really a central point, or focus, I should say, of the play calls that Dan Campbell and John Morton, or John Morton and Dan Campbell, chose to utilize, especially in the first half. Here recently, I've been trying to get to the film portion of the videos as soon as possible and then give you some summary or evaluation points at the end. So I think I've got 7 or 8 plays queued up for you guys. 13 personnel, first play of the game, in fact, for the Lions, and Dan Skipper is reported as eligible. So 13 personnel, he's the jumbo aspect of it. Really nice job, if you ask me, getting out to the linebacker level consistently for the center, or excuse me, the right guard Tate Radledge, and the center at times. In this case, it's Radledge getting up to Wagner, the linebacker, sealing him off just enough such that Gibbs can cut off of that and eventually power his way for 8 yards. I feel like some of this early in the game stuff by Campbell and Morton was to set a tone and basically show the Commanders, hey, we can run the ball on you whenever we wish. Same drive, Gibbs will be typically spot shadowed in yellow. And if you're unfamiliar with my content, the blue line just illustrates where the boundary is, the short side of the field, and the field generally considered the wide side. First possession, 2nd and 6. I love this concept, kind of a holdover a little bit from the Ben Johnson time period in Detroit. But multiple other teams use it. They don't, however, have 2 guys like Gibbs and Montgomery to put in the backfield at the same time. I think they refer to this as Pony 21. So what I'm referring to is the backside drag or underneath route by the tight end. I think it's Laporta, combined with the swing pass from Gibbs into the flats. That's actually what is going to be the target here by Goff. Goff is initially looking to that side. There's a clear-out route by Jameson Williams, essentially a clear-out route by St. Brown. I think St. Brown kind of runs a little bit of a dig later on, but they're really just occupying defenders at the top side of our screen. Laporta fitting late. Goff gets rid of it quick because of all the space that's there. I do wonder if maybe Jahmyr Gibbs could have put a better move on Bobby Wagner, but this route here by Williams, going into center field, possibly running it right at the free safety, if maybe he could have sat it down, forcing Wagner to go over the top or go underneath, basically give Gibbs a pick, a shield, if you will, but that would interfere with Laporta's route, which is a secondary element. Really, to me, you've got a lot of evidence early in the game here that Campbell and Morton were moving away from St. Brown being the primary read on pretty much every play. Williams and St. Brown as a clear out for this concept, again, an 8-yard completion from Pony 21 personnel, and you'll see that again on the touchdown at the end of this possession. Still same drive, first possession of the game. It's a 2nd and 3. Gibbs spot shadowed in yellow. Like I said, it's 12 personnel groups, so twin wing A. St. Brown and Williams down here at the bottom side of the screen. First time through, just pay attention to where Goff looks. Immediately to the middle of the field at the free safety. And then reading to the top side, away from Williams and St. Brown. I'm not saying that you want to do this all the time, but one of the things talked about after the Chiefs game, in particular after the Bucs game, was second-level defenders hedging out to St. Brown's side. In this case, you got a 2-on-2 to the bottom side of the screen, but Goff is not reading that. Goff is basically reading the clear-out concept by both of the tight ends, Brock Wright, and then I think it's Laporta over the middle. Those guys are creating space for Gibbs to run onto. I think Washington has matched 12 personnel here with 4 linebackers. I'll give you the end zone angle so you can confirm it. What I basically am referring to is Wagner as a Mike linebacker. I think Frankie Lavu, and hybrid Sam edge defender at times, and then a third inside linebacker, in this case covering Gibbs. Total mismatch. Great play call by Dan Campbell, Morton, or whoever was responsible for it. Same play from the end zone angle. Again, it's 12 personnel, so there's 2 tight ends on the field. Brock Wright and Laporta on a 2nd and 3. Third inside linebacker here, along with Wagner and Lavu, even though Lavu is set up to the front, to the top side, as a Sam. This first clear-out concept is Brock Wright. The second portion of this is Laporta, the outside tight end. Really, you've got a trickle-down effect, in my opinion. So Brock Wright holds or occupies the Mike linebacker. Wagner gets him out of there, number 1. Number 2, this linebacker is going to widen up because off the snap, Gibbs is pushing to the flats. So Gibbs could run out into the flats. This inside linebacker doesn't know it. Really, functionally, you've got what looks like a choice route. Some people call it angle, whatever you want to call it, zig. In any case, Goff is clearly looking to the side the whole time after initially locking eyes with the free safety. Easiest touchdown you'll ever see because of all the space created by the concept. Gibbs makes use of it, puts the Lions up 7-0. They obviously made it look easy. Not going to go over every touch for Jahmyr Gibbs. Clearly, he was the focus of the offense, just trying to generally illustrate the ways that he was utilized that were successful and exploited Washington's defense the most. This is one of them. Third possession, I think St. Brown had a touchdown catch on the second drive. They're already up 14-3. I think this is when Washington's defense really started to get frustrated after this touchdown and then after the 2-point conversion. So it's a 12 personnel group. Two tight ends on the field. One there, Brock Wright, lined up at fullback. The other one, Laporta, lined up to the top side of our screen. Reverse power, some people call it F counter, whatever. The guard is going to pull and kick out the edge defender. Normally on a power concept, you'd have the fullback kicking out the edge defender. And then the backside guard pulling and wrapping around to lead up for the front side inside linebacker. They do this in reverse, hence the name reverse power. Again, some people call it F counter. First of all, the tight end's got to get off the midline, Brock Wright, so that he can give the midline to Goff, the quarterback. So the quarterback can stay on the midline. You can see his feet and Gibbs' feet all in a direct line right now, and the tight end / fullback, Brock Wright, has gone to the top side of Goff, and then he'll reverse back underneath. I think he's going to go get Bobby Wagner, the Mike linebacker. There's the kick-out block. Really nice steps by Gibbs, and allows him to generate enough force such that the defensive end on the backside, I think it's Lavu, is unable to make the tackle. Great teamwork here. In addition, effort from Gibbs. Clearly with 3 defenders there for Washington, he's not going to be able to get into the end zone by himself. Takes multiple teammates here to push him over the goal line. I do think it's interesting that he powers in here while basically going backwards. This one puts him up 20-3. Then the 2-point conversion, which kind of surprised me, makes it 22-3. I might be wrong here about when the penalties occur. I think it's after the 2-point conversion, but I could be wrong. Don't have it on the All-22 film, at least the version that I got. I think Washington was frustrated. They're getting bullied. They're getting beat up by the run game. They obviously can't stop Gibbs. And at this point, it's obvious to them that functionally the game is over. They're not going to be able to stop Detroit enough times such that their offense scores enough points. In my opinion, they were frustrated. I don't know if guys, quote, wanted out or wanted off the field. I can't ascribe that at all. But you can see frustration in this team after the snap. Same play from the end zone angle. One thing to note here is you've got the motion from Jameson Williams that's going to pull this safety out of the box. So when he motions out, that's just going to create a little bit more space in here. That defender will not be there. There's the edge defender that's going to get kicked out by the pulling left guard, 74. Brock Wright steps off the midline, and he'll go get Bobby Wagner, the Mike linebacker. Let it run through a couple of times so you can see Brock Wright veering off the midline. If you're unfamiliar with what I am referring to as the midline is the blue line that I typically show at the beginning of each play. In this case, it's yellow where the ball is located. In this instance or iteration, you've got the center, the quarterback Goff, the fullback / tight end Brock Wright, and Jahmyr Gibbs all on the midline. Brock Wright is stepping off of it to allow Goff to reverse pivot, hand the football off to Gibbs. You've got Lavu barreling through here through C-gap underneath of Laporta's block. Laporta was unable to control him on the backside. Really nice job by Brock Wright. Like I said, stepping off the midline, giving that space to Goff, and then going to get the Mike linebacker. Like I said, it's Bobby Wagner. Gibbs and then his teammates do the rest, running out to the sideline. Powers his way in the end zone. To me, the 2-point conversion kind of pushed things over the top for some of these guys on Washington's defense because, they knew the reality. They were getting embarrassed at home a week after falling behind 28-0, 31-7, and then 38-7 to the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is 11 personnel concept, and it's one of my favorite plays. It's a jet follow. We've moved forward to the third quarter. Detroit's up 25-10. So I think this is Tesla up to the top side of the screen. There's only one tight end on the field. It's Sam Laporta. Jet motion. by Khalif Raymond, right to left, bottom to top for us. It's a really great job by Penei Sewell, the right tackle, going and picking up Bobby Wagner. It seemed like Wagner ended up underneath of stuff multiple times. So when I say underneath, we're talking about Gibbs' flow being here and Wagner not moving in that same direction. He seemed to get pinned underneath of multiple blocks. I'll show you one more before the end of this video. But in any case, it's a really nice reaction by Sewell, clearing space for Gibbs to put his foot in the ground, go downhill. I think it's like a 14 or a 15-yard gain. I'll give you the same play from the end zone angle so you can kind of confirm it for yourself in terms of what I'm talking about with Wagner. It's a two-high safety structure for Washington. There's the two safeties. Raymond's going to motion across right to left for us. This is the block that I'm talking about. Sewell, his path up to Wagner to get to Wagner's right shoulder, basically, and prevent Wagner from getting or disrupting Gibbs' path at all. The rest of the offensive line has done a really nice job of building the wall here, starting from the right guard position, Radledge, to the center, to the left guard, and even Decker on the backside. Wall has been created for Jahmyr Gibbs to stay tight to. Wagner totally out of position because of his steps, number one. Number two, because of Sewell's quickness and agility, ability to seal him off to the play side. We're still on that fifth possession, first drive of the third quarter for Detroit. In fact, they went into halftime up 25-10. This is going to put them up 32-10. This is, of course, the touchdown to Jameson Williams. If you recall the passing touchdown to Gibbs earlier in the game, he ran kind of this angle route, zig, choice route, whatever you want to call it, after you had two clear-out routes by the two tight ends on his side. Remember, first was Brock Wright, and the second was Laporta, kind of like that. Gibbs ended up fitting onto that open space. Watch how Campbell, Morton, whoever's designing the plays, gets this accomplished, but in almost a reverse order. So you got a clear-out route by Laporta initially. Williams, as the outside receiver, is going to go underneath. In addition, instead of trying to cross-face here Gibbs, he stays on the outside position. So basically, that allows the Mike linebacker Wagner to really focus on him. But what else does it do? Opens up that window between Goff and Jameson Williams. We'll rewind that back. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. Goff with a quick read on the free safety and the guy guarding Laporta. Coming back to Jameson Williams. Really easy from the standpoint of what Goff had to read and accomplish. I think the earlier touchdown to Gibbs had this on high alert for Washington and Wagner, number one. Number two, I think Jameson Williams probably needs a little bit of practice trying to stick the landing. In any case, that puts him up 32-10, and if you didn't know that the game was over at halftime, you certainly did at this point. This is around the moment where in our Lions Discord I started to say, hey, I'd like to see Sewell possibly come off the field totally because he had already suffered an injury earlier in the game, and he's so valuable to this team. Finally, the third and last touchdown for Gibbs on a pin-pull pitch concept. Pin-pull pitch usually goes into the boundary for multiple reasons. In this case, you got the tight end, or that might actually be Tesla motioning across, my apologies, running fast motion from right to left for the offense, top to bottom on our screen. And then it's a great job by the three blockers to the top side. St. Brown first on the pin down on the defensive end. I think it's Von Miller. And then the right tackle, Sewell, and the tight end leading out in front for Gibbs, providing him a ton of space and the ability to read things, number one. Number two, again, Wagner ends up pinned underneath. His angle, his steps are actually really slow here as the center works out and closes him off, basically gives Gibbs very similar conceptually to what you saw on the jet follow that I showed a moment ago for like 14 or 15 yards. Essentially, Wagner is sealed off, totally out of position, and there ends up being this huge lane for Gibbs to cut onto because Wagner is basically out of position. In addition, now, he doesn't pick up a block here, but this is how far Decker had to go in order to get out here to threaten the safety. I think that's Reeves, but I could be wrong. He started here, he being Decker. We'll rewind that so you can see for yourself. His pre-snap alignment, and then where he ends up. The effort that these guys gave, blocking for each other, playing for each other, I think was palpable. Basically, if I was to try to make a large-scale statement here, I'd say they clearly believe in and want to play hard for Dan Campbell. I'm not trying to throw shade at John Morton. Washington's obviously got a very subpar defense. They've given up 400 yards or more 6 times in 10 games this year, and in each of the last 4 games. This one puts Detroit up 42-16. It's a great play concept. The pin pull pitch with the motion off of it. Having said all that, angles exist for other people that do not for Jahmyr Gibbs. We're talking about what you have here, this relationship. I think it was Vilma, the announcer, even said, it's over. It's a touchdown. I was watching it at this point in time and thought to myself, that doesn't look like it should be a touchdown, but it's Jahmyr Gibbs. The rules for angles and how defenders can converge, they just do not exist in the same manner for that guy. Finally, same play from the end zone angle. Give you a great idea of a number of things. First of all, the blocking that occurs with the center, working up to the play side shoulder of Wagner, number 1. Number 2, what gets accomplished here with St. Brown on the pin down block, and then Laporta and Sewell pulling to the outside into the boundary to lead the way. Great job, if you ask me, by St. Brown. You don't have to hit a home run. You really don't even have to hit a triple, maybe a single or a double, or a single where you reach second base on an error. The idea is you just got to give that running back a lane such that this player can't converge from behind, pursue from behind, and obviously not spin out and then become a pursuit player essentially at the second level. They totally get Wagner walled off, number 1. Number 2, really great job out in front by Laporta and Sewell. This is a team, in my opinion, at least on Sunday afternoon, that operated at a high level, blocking for each other. From an effort standpoint, maybe the defenses had better games. For Jahmyr Gibbs to come out and score 3 touchdowns, Jameson Williams to go over 100 yards receiving, 6 of 7 targets to catches. I think it's a big statement for Dan Campbell to be calling the plays. Really cool, the attention that's been afforded to the Lions about it. I recognize that for John Morton, it's probably not great to have those duties taken away from you. I support Dan Campbell in his decision. This team, these players, believe in him. I think we all do too, right? And it'll be an opportunity next week to go up against one of the more talented defenses, more accomplished. They won a Super Bowl last year, shutting down the Kansas City Chiefs offense almost completely. Vic Fangio has his own system, generally going to stay within that system. They've got playmakers on that side, so I know they're up in the ante in terms of responsibility next week, going to face the Super Bowl champions in Philadelphia, a matchup that we all would have loved to have seen last year in the NFC Championship game if Detroit was able to get by Washington. They totally flipped that upside down on Sunday against the Commanders. The game was, for all intents and purposes, over at halftime. Detroit unstoppable. Goff was, I think, 25 of 33 passing, over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jameson Williams plus 100 receiving yards on the day, 1 touchdown. Gibbs put on a show. I think he should be the overwhelming favorite for Offensive Player of the Week. There's other guys that put on, tremendous shows as well. This is a learning opportunity for all of us to try to figure out how Dan Campbell's going to call these plays. I know there's a collaboration with Morton, but listening to the press conference, which I don't normally do, I listened to it this morning while driving home from a family trip. And to me, I thought I could glean or discern the fact that he is going to be spending more time with the offense during the week, which would remove him from other responsibilities. He was direct and upfront about that. I haven't listened to anything Monday at all for him. Haven't had time. Had about a 4-hour drive on my hands, and then trying to get this video produced for you guys, as well as a couple things produced for the Ravens team as well. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section. Number 1, Jahmyr Gibbs was outstanding on Sunday. At this point, I believe you're looking at 660 yards, 690 yards rushing. He took his yards per carry for 2025 from 4.9 to 5.4 with this effort. That's what happens when you average 9.5 yards per carry. Also added 30 yards receiving, and the 1 touchdown that I showed you has a lot more touches. If you extrapolate this out to a 17-game season, he's going to have a lot more touches than in previous seasons. He did get 250 carries last year to produce his 16 touchdowns on the ground. In any case, if you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. Number 2, if you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study look at Jahmyr Gibbs, what he was able to do in the first game where Dan Campbell has admitted that he was calling plays himself, through some collaboration with John Morton, I'm sure. But if you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study look at Gibbs, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media, so other Lions fans can enjoy it as well.